Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us your sources, and we pull out the key insights. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're diving into literary fiction, some excerpts from Paulo Coelho's, well, hugely popular book, The Alchemist. This is for you, our listener, the learner, someone who wants the core ideas of this philosophical story, but maybe, wants a shortcut through the narrative itself. Okay, let's unpack this. So the main character is Santiago. He's a shepherd. But interestingly, he wasn't always just a shepherd. He actually went to seminary, learned to read.
Right, which is a key detail.
Mm-hmm.
He chose shepherding not out of necessity, but for the freedom to travel.
Yeah.
He had other options.
Exactly. And he starts having this dream, the same dream over and over about treasure.
Mm-hmm. Treasure buried near the pyramids in Egypt. It's quite specific.
And you have to wonder, like you said, he seems content. So why does this dream grip him so much?
It introduces that. Well, that potential for more. Maybe his literacy, his background makes him more attuned to signs, to this kind of call.
So this dream leads him to Tarifa, and he meets this old king character, Melchizedek.
Yeah, not just some random old guy. He knows about the dream.
He does. And he pushes Santiago, tells him he needs to follow his personal legend.
Which is basically Coelho's term for your true calling, your life's purpose. It's a central idea.
Melchizedek even gives him tools, these stones, Urim and Thummim, says they help read omens.
Right, guides for the journey. But there's a catch, isn't there?
There is. He wants a cut, a tenth of the treasure if Santiago finds it.
It raises that question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is pursuing your destiny always tied to some kind of transaction or sacrifice? And the omens suggest the universe might be speaking if you listen.
Melchizedek also says something really important. He calls it the world's greatest lie.
Yes. The idea that at some point fate just takes over and you lose control of your life.
Why call that the greatest lie? Seems quite profound.
Well, I think because believing it lets you off the hook, right?
Yeah.
It allows you to become passive, to abandon your personal legend because, oh, well, it's fate.
So it's about agency, really, taking responsibility.
Exactly. It's empowering. You can steer your life.
And to get him started, Melchizedek mentions beginner's luck.
Yeah.
That first little bit of success.
Yeah, that little nudge from the universe. Like, see, this is possible.
Just enough encouragement to take that first scary step. We've all felt that, haven't we? That initial easy win.
So Santiago sells his sheep, takes the plunge, heads to Tangier, and immediately gets robbed.
Yeah, everything gone. Talk about a rough start.
It's a real test. He could just turn back, but he doesn't.
No, he decides to work. He finds a job in a crystal shop, planning to earn enough just to buy back his sheep and go home.
But something shifts while he's there, doesn't it? He starts observing things.
He does. He sees how people, like the crystal merchant he works for, get stuck in routines, maybe even afraid of change. It contrasts sharply with his own desire for the journey he just started.
And he's not just observing. He starts suggesting things for the shop. A display case outside, selling tea in the crystal glasses, which, turn out to be great ideas. Business improves. It shows Santiago's energy, maybe his own personal legend starting to manifest even in this temporary situation.
It really affects the crystal merchant, too. She has his own dream, right?
Yeah, a lifelong dream to go to Mecca, make the Hajj, but he's afraid.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of disappointment. Or maybe afraid that once he achieves it, he won't have anything left to dream about, so he just keeps the shop, keeps dreaming. Santiago's presence really shakes that up for him.
It makes you think about how we hold on to dreams versus actually pursuing them.
Absolutely. The fear of the unknown or even the fear of achieving it can be paralyzing.
During this time, Santiago's also learning. He picked up Arabic.
And more than that, he starts understanding this language without words. It's about intuition, enthusiasm, purpose, seeing the connections.
And he keeps encountering this concept, maktub.
It is written, yeah.
How does that square with Melchizedek saying fate isn't in control? It sounds contradictory.
It's a fascinating tension. Maybe maktub isn't about passive acceptance of everything, but acknowledging a larger flow, a destiny that unfolds as you make choices. You still have to act, to read the omens, to engage. It's written, but you help write it too, perhaps.
Okay, so he earns his money, more than enough for his sheep, but decides no. He's going for the treasure.
He doubles down on the personal legend. The journey continues.
He joins a caravan crossing the Sahara, and here he meets the Englishman.
Ah, the Englishman, a very different type of seeker.
Totally. He's looking for an alchemist, believes all the secrets, the universal language are locked up in books on alchemy. Very intellectual approach.
Whereas Santiago is learning by doing, by observing, by, living it. The classic contrast, book knowledge versus experiential wisdom, which is more valuable.
The caravan leader has his own philosophy too, very much about the present moment, trusting Allah. Maktub again.
Living in the now, accepting what comes, but still moving forward. It's a desert philosophy, perhaps born from that environment.
And the Englishman tries to explain the soul of the world to Santiago.
This idea that everything is interconnected, that there's a universal consciousness or life force running through everything. It's a core concept in alchemy and in the book.
That was a bit mystical.
It can, but think of it simply as, well, the underlying unity of all things. The Englishman seeks it in texts. Santiago starts to feel it through experience.
They finally arrive at the Al Fayoum oasis. It's huge, much bigger than they expected. A safe haven during the tribal wars raging in the desert.
A place of life and refuge, but also a place with its own rules.
And it's here he meets Fatima.
A pivotal moment.
It's described as instantaneous. He sees her, and it's like he understands everything, this pure language of the world, just by looking in her eyes.
Yeah, this immediate, deep, intuitive connection. The idea that love itself is a universal language, that you can recognize your counterpart across the world. It's very romantic, but also ties into that soul of the world idea of fated, meaningful connection.
It really throws him, doesn't it? He's found love. Maybe this is the treasure.
It's a temptation. A very understandable one. Meanwhile, the Englishman finds his alchemist.
Right. And the alchemist basically tells him,
Go and try. Just tells him to go try turning lead into gold himself. Not exactly the secret formula he was hoping for.
No, it emphasizes that practical application, the experience, is key, not just reading about it.
Exactly. For Santiago, the temptation is to stay. Stay with Fatima at the oasis. He's in love.
But Fatima, she's described as a woman of the desert. She understands.
She does. Her perspective is quite remarkable. She essentially tells him that she is part of his personal legend, his treasure, yes, but he must go find his treasure at the pyramids. Love, for her, doesn't mean holding someone back.
She expects him to go, and she'll wait. It's a very empowering form of love.
It really is. It allows him to continue his quest without guilt, knowing she understands its importance.
So, prompted by an omen he observes, Santiago himself seeks out the alchemist.
The real deal.
Uh-huh.
This guy is supposedly 200 years old, understands the soul of the world, the omens, everything.
And the alchemist gives him a test. Show me where there is life in the desert.
Why that test, do you think?
Well, the alchemist says only those who can find life can find treasure. It's about perception, right? Seeing beyond the obvious, seeing the connection.
Seeing the signs, and Santiago finds a cobra.
Which the alchemist confirms is the sign he needed, connecting it somehow to the pyramids. The alchemist decides to travel with him.
And now the teaching really intensifies. The alchemist stresses that everything Santiago needs to learn, he learns on the journey. And the crucial thing...
Listening to his heart.
Exactly. The heart knows things. It came from the soul of the world and it wants to return there. It desires the personal legend.
But the heart is also afraid, right? Afraid of suffering.
And the alchemist gives that incredible advice. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, because every moment of the search is holy, an encounter with eternity.
Wow. He also warns him, though, that right before you achieve your dream, the soul of the world throws one last big test at you.
To make sure you've learned everything you needed to learn along the way. It's the final exam, so to speak.
And boy, does he get one. They're captured by warring tribesmen out in the desert.
Yeah, things look pretty bleak. They're accused of being spies.
And the alchemist does something, well, frankly, crazy. He tells the tribal chief that Santiago is an alchemist who can turn himself into the wind.
And that he just needs 3 days to prove it. Talk about putting him on the spot.
No kidding. Utterly terrifying for Santiago, but it forces him to actually use everything he's learned, doesn't it?
It's the ultimate test. He has to communicate with the desert, with the wind, with the sun, explaining his connection to them, to the soul of the world, through love.
It's this deep, almost prayer-like communion. He speaks to the hand that wrote all.
And the elements respond. The wind whips up this furious sandstorm, the simum.
In the chaos, Santiago seems to disappear and then reappear on the other side of the camp.
Completely unnerving the tribesmen who let them go, understandably. He has literally embodied the principles he was taught. He didn't just understand them, he became them in that moment.
So they continue. Near the end of their journey together, they stop at a monastery.
And the alchemist demonstrates his own power. He borrows lead from a monk.
And turns it into gold, using the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life, just like that.
Proof positive. He divides the gold apiece for Santiago, one for the monk for his hospitality, one for himself, and one left with the monk in case Santiago needs it later.
He also tells Santiago a story about a Roman centurion whose faith impressed Jesus, the point being
That every person on earth plays a central role in the history of the world, and normally he doesn't know it, reinforcing that interconnectedness, the significance of each individual life and journey.
Then the alchemist leaves him. Santiago has to finish the final steps alone, just following his heart.
Right. The guide takes you so far, but the final steps are yours alone.
He reaches the pyramids. Finally, he's overwhelmed, weeping, thanking God.
All that journey, all those trials, leading to this spot from his dream.
He sees an omen, a scarab beetle, a sacred symbol in Egypt, and starts digging right there. He feels his treasure is close.
But then, another obstacle.
Yeah, he's attacked by refugees, war refugees. They beat him up, find the piece of gold the alchemist gave him.
They assume he's digging for more gold and make him keep digging, but find nothing.
And just as they're about to leave him, possibly for dead, the leader mocks him. He tells Santiago about his own recurring dream.
And this is the moment, isn't it? The final twist.
It really is. The leader says he dreamed of a treasure buried back in Spain,
In a ruined church.
underneath a sycamore tree growing out of the old sacristy.
The exact place where Santiago had his first dream, where he started.
Unbelievable. The treasure was back home all along.
He had to make the entire journey to Egypt, learn everything he learned, meet everyone he met, face all those trials, just to find out where the treasure actually was.
So the journey itself, the wisdom gained, that was the real preparation, the real treasure in a way. It enabled him to understand the refugees' words.
Precisely. Without the journey, the leader's story would have meant nothing to him. The physical treasure was waiting, but he needed the inner transformation to find it.
So he knows what he has to do. Go back, dig up the treasure, give the old gypsy woman her 10th, as promised, and then return to Fatima. His last thought in the excerpt is simple. I'm coming, Fatima. It's come full circle.
A really satisfying, if unexpected, conclusion to the quest.
So after all that, the gold was waiting right where he began. It's quite an aha moment, realizing the journey was necessary not to find the destination, but to understand its significance.
Absolutely. And the key themes really shine through, don't they? The courage to pursue your personal legend, your dream, the fact that the journey itself is where the growth happens, maybe even more than the goal itself.
Yeah, and listening to those signs, the omens, your intuition, your heart.
And the transformative power of love. A love that supports the journey rather than hindering it. It all ties together. The journey changes you so you can recognize the treasure.
And for you listening, seeking those aha moments, those insights, maybe the story resonates. We hope this deep dive gave you a good feel for the core of The Alchemist.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the sycamore tree in your own life? Is there a treasure, a potential, something valuable right where you are that maybe you haven't recognized yet because you haven't taken the necessary inner or outer journey to see it?
So what does this all mean? Perhaps it means the answers we seek aren't always out there, but the journey out there is what allows us to finally see what's right here, within us, or back where we started.